Calculated extinction. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Confederation hummed with the voices of over 300 species, each representative seated according to their evolutionary age and technological contribution to the galactic community. The Astrine Crystal Dome, suspended in orbit above the neutral planet of Nexus Prime, refracted starlight into patterns that danced across the chamber floor, a symbolic reminder of the harmony that had existed between civilized species for over 12,000 years, until humanity entered the equation. Grand Arbiter Genfal, the eldest of the Mircadian race and leader of the Confederation for 3 centuries, raised all 4 of her upper appendages to silence the assembly. Her silvery carapace gleamed under the ambient light as her compound eyes scanned the gathered delegates. "The reports from the Observation Division are conclusive," she announced, her translator converting her ultrasonic speech into the standard galactic language. "The human expansion has reached a critical threshold. Their colonization rate has exceeded our projections by 37%, and their weapons development cycles have compressed to unprecedented levels." Holographic displays materialized throughout the chamber, showing Earth's rapid development from a pre-spaceflight civilization to a multi-planet society in less than 2 centuries. Most species took at least a millennium to achieve similar progress. What makes these beings so dangerous is not merely their technological acceleration, continued First Analyst Krev Moore, the head of the Confederation's Strategic Assessment Division. The reptilian scientist manipulated the displays to show human warfare throughout their history. It is their psychological makeup. Unlike most sentient species who evolve away from violence as they advance, humans have retained their aggressive instincts while simultaneously developing the tools to express them on an interstellar scale. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Many species had abandoned warfare millions of years ago, considering it an evolutionary dead end. Those who retained military capabilities did so primarily for defensive purposes and followed strict codes of engagement that minimize casualties. "They are unpredictable," added Ambassador Elon Nim of the Thassi Collective, their luminescent body pulsing with concern. "Our behavioral models fail when applied to human decision-making. They simultaneously engage in self-destructive behaviors and remarkable acts of self-sacrifice. They wage war against their own kind over arbitrary distinctions, yet unite instantly against external threats." Grand Arbiter Zenfal nodded solemnly. "The Observation Division has concluded that once humans discover the existence of the Confederation, there is a 93.6% probability they will perceive us as a threat and take preemptive action. Their historical patterns suggest they will not seek to understand our peaceful intentions, but will instead prepare for conflict." The assembly fell silent as the implications sank in. For 12 millennia, the Confederation had maintained peace through careful integration of new species, extensive observation periods, and gradual diplomatic contact. Humanity was only the 3rd species in Confederation history to be classified as a Category Alpha threat, a civilization with both the capacity and psychological predisposition for interstellar aggression. "What does the High Council recommend?" asked a delegate from the methane-breathing Viridian Syndicate. Zenfal's compound eyes dimmed slightly, the Mircadian equivalent of closing one's eyes in solemn contemplation. When she spoke again, her voice carried the weight of a decision that had not been made in over 9,000 years. "The High Council has unanimously approved Resolution 7291, preemptive containment of the human sphere. The preservation fleet has been mobilized and will deploy to the Sol system within 3 rotation cycles." The announcement sent shockwaves through the assembly. The preservation fleet, a euphemism for the Confederation's most powerful military force, had not been deployed in its entirety since the Hive Mind Rebellion. Its purpose was not conquest, but preservation of galactic harmony, typically through quarantine measures. But everyone present understood the reality behind the diplomatic language. Humanity would be given one opportunity to accept permanent technological restrictions and confinement to their home system. Given their psychological profile, rejection was almost certain. The contingency plan involved targeted strikes against key infrastructure to force humanity back to a pre-spaceflight state. In the privacy of the High Council chambers after the assembly, the true nature of the operation was discussed more candidly. "The simulation models are clear," said Supreme Commander Vexlar of the Preservation Fleet, his holographic projection hovering above the council table. "A species with human psychological traits combined with advanced technology presents an existential threat to Confederation stability. The longer we wait, the more costly containment becomes. Are we certain there is no alternative?" asked Elonim, who had always advocated for dialogue over force. Crevmore's scales shifted color as he responded. "We have run 12.7 million diplomatic simulations. In every scenario where humans learn of our technological advantage, they accelerate their military development and launch preemptive strikes within a decade. Their history is filled with examples of smaller human groups developing asymmetric warfare techniques against technologically superior adversaries. Given their resource allocation patterns, the moment they detect us, they will begin preparing for war." Zhenfal's appendages moved in the pattern that indicated finality. "The decision is made. The Preservation Fleet departs in 3 cycles. May the cosmic harmony forgive us for what must be done." 3 cycles later, the largest armada in Confederation history emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. 500 capital ships, each larger than Earth's moon, accompanied by thousands of support vessels, positioned themselves in a containment formation designed to neutralize any attempted escape from the system. Commander Vexlar stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Vigilance, studying the holographic representation of the human sphere. Their detection systems had identified 147 human colonies across the Sol system, from Mercury to the Kuiper Belt, along with numerous space stations and mining operations. "Strange," muttered tactical officers in Vex. "We're detecting no change in their communication patterns, no alerts, no defensive preparations." Vexlar's facial tentacles twisted in puzzlement. "They should have detected our emergence from hyperspace. Their sensor technology is primitive, but not so primitive as to miss an armada of this size. Perhaps their response time is slower than we anticipated," suggested Zinvex. "No," Vexlar said, a growing unease taking root in his consciousness. "Something is wrong. Initiate full spectrum scan." The results came back moments later, prompting collective gasps from the bridge crew. "Sir," said the sensor operator, voice quavering, "the colonies, they're empty. All of them. No life signs detected on any human installation in the system." "Impossible." Vexlar moved to the console himself, his tendrils interfacing directly with the ship's systems. But the readings were clear. Mars settlements, Europa bases, Saturn orbitals, all abandoned. Functional, powered, but devoid of life. "Scan Earth," he ordered, his voice tight with tension. The operator complied, and the main display shifted to show the blue-green planet. Earth's cities glowed with light, power systems still functional, but the same pattern prevailed. No human life signs anywhere on the planet. "They've gone," Zinvex whispered. 8 billion humans, and all their colonial population, vanished. Vexlar was about to order a planetary landing when every system on the Eternal Vigilance simultaneously shut down. Throughout the fleet, the same phenomenon occurred. Ships going dark, life support systems failing, engines powering down. And then, on every communication channel across the fleet, a single human voice spoke. "Hello, Galactic Confederation. We've been expecting you." "Checkmate." The voice echoed through the darkened bridge of the Eternal Vigilance, calm and almost conversational. "You're probably wondering how we knew you were coming, or perhaps you're more concerned about why your ships no longer function. Both are fair questions." Commander Vexlar's tendrils twitched in agitation as emergency power flickered on, providing minimal life support but nothing else. The vast Armada, the most powerful military force in the history of the Confederation, now drifted helplessly in space. We detected your observation probes approximately 70 years ago, the voice continued. Clever design, disguising them as asteroids. We might have missed them entirely if not for a curious mining engineer who noticed unusual radiation patterns. Once we found one, it wasn't difficult to locate the others. 217 of them, scattered throughout our system. In the High Council emergency session, Grand Arbiter Zenfall stared at the communication feed in disbelief. The Observation Division had reported no detection of their surveillance network. Their stealth technology was supposed to be undetectable to pre-Confederation civilizations. Instead of destroying the probes, we decided to study them, the human voice explained. And more importantly, to feed them exactly what we wanted you to see. A carefully crafted narrative of human development, psychology, and military doctrine. A species aggressive but predictable, advanced but not too advanced, expanding but still confined to one star system. First Analyst Krev Moore's scales had turned pale gray, a sign of extreme distress among his species. Impossible, he muttered. Our behavioral analysis was comprehensive. Their psychological profile was consistent with historical data. The profile was consistent because we designed it to be, the voice said, as if in direct response to Krev Moore's statement. We showed you what you expected to see, a young, aggressive species that would respond to external threats exactly as your models predicted. We gave you a problem with an obvious solution. On the Eternal Vigilance, Vexillar watched helplessly as small craft began appearing around his fleet. Unlike any human vessel observed before, these ships were sleek, almost organic in appearance, and moved with a grace that suggested technological mastery far beyond what humanity should possess. In reality, we left the Sol system almost 50 years ago, the voice continued. What you've been observing was an elaborate stage play, populated by advanced androids and automated systems designed to mimic human behavior patterns. Meanwhile, the actual human population has established itself across 17 star systems in what you call the Orion Spur. The revelation struck the Confederation leadership like a physical blow. Their entire strategic assessment, the very basis for the containment operation, had been based on manipulated data. As for your fleet, the voice said, we've temporarily disabled your systems using technology we reverse-engineered from your observation probes. Nothing permanent, I assure you, just enough to ensure we can have this conversation without misunderstandings. In the council chamber, Ambassador Elonim's luminescence pulsed rapidly. They knew. All this time, they knew we were watching, and they used our own surveillance against us. Zhenthal's appendages drooped in a gesture of profound defeat. We have gravely miscalculated. The human voice continued, now addressing the Confederation leadership directly. Grand Arbiter Zhenthal, First Analyst Krev Moore, Ambassador Elonim, and other members of the High Council. Yes, we know who you are. I'm Commander Elena Reyes of the United Earth Alliance. I've been authorized to initiate diplomatic contact with your Confederation. A holographic image materialized on the bridge of the Eternal Vigilance and in the council chamber. A human female in a simple blue uniform stood with hands clasped behind her back, her expression neutral but not hostile. I understand this situation is uncomfortable for you, Commander Rice said. You came here expecting to find a primitive species that would either submit to containment or require forcible regression. Instead, you've discovered that we're considerably more advanced than you believed and that we've been aware of your existence for decades. She paused, allowing the implications to sink in. But I want to be clear, we are not here to threaten you. Had that been our intention, we could have taken more permanent action against your fleet. On cue, the systems on the Confederation vessels began to reactivate, power returning to critical functions. We're restoring your ship's capabilities, minus weapons systems for the moment. A gesture of good faith. In the council chamber, the members exchanged glances of disbelief. This was unprecedented. No species had ever outmaneuvered the Confederation so thoroughly, let alone responded with restraint when holding a clear tactical advantage. Why? Zhenfall finally asked. Why reveal yourselves now? Why not simply remain hidden until you were ready to challenge us directly? Commander Reyes smiled slightly. Because that's not who we are, Grand Arbiter. Despite what your manipulated data suggested, humans are not inherently warlike. We can be, when threatened, but we prefer cooperation when possible. We chose this moment to reveal ourselves because your containment fleet gave us the perfect opportunity to demonstrate our capabilities while simultaneously opening diplomatic channels. She gestured, and a new holographic display appeared, showing star systems far beyond Sol. We've been studying the Confederation for decades. We know about your 12,000 years of peace, your careful integration of new species, your commitment to stability. We admire much of what you've built, but we also know that your stability is based on controlled evolution, ensuring all member species develop along predictable lines. The human commander's expression became more serious. Humanity doesn't develop along predictable lines. We leap, we experiment, we take risks that your societal models would consider irrational. And yes, sometimes that leads to conflict, but it also leads to breakthroughs that your careful, managed progress might take millennia to achieve. In the flagship's bridge, Vexillar watched the human ships circling his fleet. Their design philosophy was unlike anything in Confederation archives, a fusion of approaches that suggested humans had developed along multiple technological paths simultaneously rather than following the linear progression observed in most species. We're proposing an alternative to conflict, Rice continued. Neither your containment nor our isolation, but a new relationship. Humanity joins the Confederation, but with a special status that acknowledges our unique evolutionary path. We bring innovation, you bring stability. We challenge, you temper. Together, we might achieve what neither of us could alone. The council chamber erupted in discussion. Such an arrangement was without precedent. The Confederation operated on principles of gradual integration, careful monitoring, and controlled technological development. What humans propose would fundamentally alter the balance that had preserved peace for 12 millennia. Yet the alternative was equally unpalatable. The humans had proven themselves technologically advanced enough to neutralize the Confederation's greatest military force. They had outmaneuvered the most sophisticated intelligence-gathering network in the galaxy. And most disturbingly, they had done all this while appearing to be a relatively primitive, system-bound civilization. This is not a decision we can make unilaterally, Zhenfall finally responded. The full assembly must be consulted. We understand. Rise nodded. We're prepared to send representatives to Nexus Prime for formal discussions. In the meantime, your fleet is welcome to remain in the Sol system, now with full systems functionality restored. As our guests, we've prepared facilities on Mars for your comfort. Consider it a first step toward mutual understanding. As the communication ended, the council members sat in stunned silence. First Analyst Krevmore was the first to speak. They outplayed us at every step, he said, his voice hollow. They detected our surveillance, fed us exactly what would trigger our containment protocols, and used our own preconceptions against us. They knew we would come in force, and they prepared accordingly. And yet they offer peace, Elonim observed, their luminescence pulsing thoughtfully. When they could have struck us from the shadows, they chose to reveal themselves and propose cooperation. Grand Arbiter Zhenthal's compound eyes reflected the starlight streaming through the crystal dome. Perhaps our greatest error was not in underestimating their technology, but in misunderstanding their nature. We assumed that a species with their capacity for violence would inevitably choose aggression. And instead, Elonim said, they chose to end a conflict before it began, with neither victory nor defeat, but with an invitation to something new. In the Sol system, the human ships began guiding the Confederation fleet toward Mars, where diplomatic facilities had been prepared long in advance. On Earth, the elaborate facade that had fooled the galaxy's oldest civilization for decades was finally being dismantled, the advanced androids and automated systems shutting down their performance after years of playing their roles in humanity's greatest deception. and throughout human space, 17 star systems unknown to the Confederation, news spread that the long-anticipated first contact had finally occurred, not with the flames of war that many had feared, but with a strategic masterstroke that had transformed potential annihilation into the possibility of a new galactic order. Humanity had not merely survived its first encounter with advanced alien civilization. It had changed the rules of the game entirely.